I know I definitely want to talk to you about your, obviously the business, Sustainable Salons, but I really want to understand a little bit more about your story, your journey, how you ended up here, and maybe even starting it, like, I know you left school in year 10, but what triggered that?
I never actually even finished year 10. I was not smart enough to pass those tests at the end. It had a lot to do with, I was quite dyslexic through school, so... but to give you a little bit of maybe history on that is when I actually was in primary school, I had my mother realised I had to wear glasses very young because one of my eyes was not working and very well. I failed primary school. By the time I got to high school, I begged my mum to take the glasses off, so I got contacts. So here I am now, the bullied kid in primary school, and then finally I got the glasses off. I became the bully. Because I was like, I got contact lenses. I was like, that's it. And I became a bit of a bully. It wasn't that I wanted to be. I was just a troubled kid trying to liberate. So I'm failing everything. I was getting 2%, 10% in every test. And I'm like, my mum's just like, I've got to get you out of here. Something's wrong. I had to leave school very early, but from quite a young age, because, you know, when you're a troubled kid at that age, you just turn to pretty bad things. I was skateboarding with, you know, hanging out at parks. Yeah, you know it. And the reason I guess I'm telling you this story is because I look back and thinking it's actually what built me to become very street smart. I had to figure out how to get through school without ever passing a test.
That's it.
Try to talk myself out of things and also talk myself into things. And I was really good at shaving my friends' heads because we were skaters and they all wanted swear words.
And that's the look, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The swear words, and I was good at it. So I was like, well, they just nicknamed me the hairdresser, right? They're like, well, you cut my hair. So from literally the age of 11, I'm already shaving heads, and then my mum just says, you know what, like, just go work at a family friend's salon, and that's where it all started in my hairdressing career from a young age. And because I was failing school, and back then legally you could leave at 14 and 9 months. So as soon as that date came, I left. So I never finished year 10.
Did you enjoy it at first, doing the hairdressing side of it? Or were you just doing it because you had nothing else to...
Oh, the first salons were the worst. They treated me horribly. Back then, you know, and when I say back then, right, like, you know, you still had to listen to your elders where they could, you know, they were hitting me like, you know, that's wrong, and 2 hands on the broom, and you were taking a bit of abuse.
Sure.
And I remember thinking like, this sucks. I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. I really didn't enjoy it, but I still loved doing my friends' hair. So I loved hairdressing. I just didn't like being in the salon.
In that work environment, yeah.
She sent me off to she helped me get a job in the city, and I guess I met my first gay person.
Your introduction to city life.
To city life, right?
And how did you find that? Like,
It was so strange, to be honest.
What do you remember about that experience?
I still remember David. He was so lovely. He was such a tough guy as well. He was just like, you know, he knew that I felt uncomfortable. It was like, so what is... You didn't know what to say. Like, you're gay, but what does that mean for me? You looking at me? Like, you didn't know, you know, you're... And I still remember just asking him all these bizarre questions, but he snapped me into line real quick and ended up becoming my mentor. And I thank him every day from today that, you know, he taught me the art of like how to do classical hairdressing.
What do you mean by that?
So basically how to do really volume style blow drying, doing like, you know, clients that come every week that want blow dries, and he's like, you want to do stuff that the client comes back for each week. Don't do the stuff that, you know, you have to reinvent yourself on every haircut because the clients don't come back then.
So he was thinking more from a business perspective.
Well, he knew that was the bread and butter of our game.
Yeah.
And I thank him for that because it's what took me around the world doing my craft. So
you worked with him, and then where did you head after that?
He actually retired, and I decided to go move on to another salon to go learn texture cutting now.
Yeah.
And straight away, the boss there was like, you know, you're really good at doing hairdressing at such a young age. I'm going to enter you in an award, which was like the Weller Young Australian Hairdresser of the Year award. And I entered it and won it. And back then...
How old were you?
I was about 17, just turning 18. And back then, they didn't just give you a trophy, they gave you a ticket to fly to Europe. And I remember thinking...
And you're like 17.
I'm like, I got a ticket? I'm out of here. And my boss was like, no, you got to stay. And he was furious that I left. And I'm like, I got a ticket.
Well, you entered me, so this is what you get.
It's like a ticket to freedom, man. Like, I'm out of here. I didn't stick around long there. I went off to then Italy.
Given your family's from Italy, did you get to experience Italian culture?
Not really. They kind of hated you when you landed. So I landed in Naples, and I still remember them like... Because I don't speak very good Italian, and we grew up with a dialect of Italian.
Mm-hmm. What kept you in Italy?
the blow drying. Oh, it just blew my mind.
Why? What was it?
It's the way they would do it and the speed and the clients, how they walked in, the ladies, they would just walk in and it was a part of your day to day. This is not like, here hairdressing is a luxury.
Yeah.
You go once every 10 weeks, you get your colour, your blow dry. Over there, it's just it's like going to get it's like a weekly coffee, right?
I'm going to get my hair done.
Get your blow dry done, yes. It's just magical how the work they do. So I got inspired by that. I really loved it. I guess like a bit of a brain where I love thinking about business and I love like the concepts of business. It caught me and I started thinking, how do I bring what we're doing in Naples back to Australia? How do you get women to understand? Because I know if you ask if I asked you, would you like to get your hair blow dry weekly?
100%.
Right? What's stopping you, right? And it's usually the cost.
Yes, cost.
So I invented a program which was the unlimited service hair program.
Ooh.
So I took it from golf clubs, how you see a golf membership.
Yep.
And basically applied that to a salons. Because I grew up you just do things. I don't think. I don't have that ability to talk myself out of it. I'm already in.
You're so proactive. It's like that doing drive. I just got to do it.
Totally. And I do say that when people go to university, I'm like, so you talk yourself so much out of it because you study it, you've looked at every angle, and you'll probably talk yourself out of it, where people like me are like, nah, if I see it, I'm just going to attempt it. I'm going to risk everything on it.
Risk it all.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm okay with that. We just went straight into our concept, what we were trying to build. It took off real fast. Ladies just loved it. They had a monthly payment or a 6-month payment or a yearly, so you chose which.
And then it would obviously be cheaper the longer time you did it.
And think about it, unlimited.
Unlimited.
So
as soon as you're saying the word unlimited, I'm like,
blow dries.
Yes. Why do we not have this now, Paul?
We even brought in pedicures and manicures as well. That one was just like, sign me up. Because we had these girls that would sit by while you're getting your blow dry and they'll do your nails. And the guys started to really enjoy it. Oh. Guys were like, do my nails, please.
Yes. Once you get a guy into it, then they go, oh, look at this.
Yeah.
But how did that model become profitable and or sustainable for you? Because if people are coming all the time, how do you service that? How do you make the cost model effective?
Can I say this? Like, I always say to someone, don't you always wonder about a golf course? Like, when you stare at a golf course, you wonder, how do they make money?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they make a lot of money. And because it's all based on their memberships. Mm. So, I want to say a lot of money. They have a good business. It's not a dead business model. We have golf courses everywhere. So I looked at that and how that works, and really it's offering more a part of. So if you've got, I always say about, let's say you got 1,000 clients that come in your salon. I say it's better to focus on just the 300 of your best clients than try to focus on 1,000. Yeah. So if you focus on them and give them exactly what they want, then you're actually going to equal the same amount. You can actually equal the same, if not more, amount of money. Mm. So it's a lot to do with the loyalty of a client and what those people want. So the numbers stacked up, and we then launched the program, and it was great. To be honest, I always say to them, well, how many colors do you think a client can have?
Kind of going to max out on how much color you can put in your hair.
Yeah, and a haircut. You're not going to cut your hair every week, but you would like a blow dry every week.
Yeah.
And that's just labor. Now, when you look at most salons, they're only running at about a 40% capacity. You always see the empty chairs and them standing around. I'm like, wouldn't you prefer they're just blow drying?
They're doing something, you've got that service.
And giving that to your clients that just really respect you, that love you. And now you're building a club. And that's what a golf club is. That's what many clubs are. It's these people understand and they will spend their money there. So you'll join the golf club, then you'll spend your money there. You'll come to the events there. And there's 5 other ways to make money and build it for them.
And then they'll almost probably be loyal to the products that are there.
They start to think they own it. It's like a golf club. It's like, they're like, well, I'm a member and I demand rights.
I'm going to come and hang out in my hairdressing salon because this is the place I go to.
I find it so fascinating just because once you build that environment for people, it is something special to them. And for us as a hairdresser, so I've worked non-stop in salons like this where you see your clients weekly. You see these people more than they see their own kids. One of the last salons I worked at in the Netherlands, like average clients were coming twice a week. You're dealing, when you really go to that really high end where money's not an issue, people just spend because they won't even wash their hair at home.
They just come in.
Well, you only should wash it once a week anyway.
Yeah.
So, you allow us to take care of that. And I think that's what should be, not just at the high end, that should be right across the industry.
What inspired you to move beyond that and to keep moving, right? Because you could have just done that forever.
Yeah, totally.
Some people could have gone, yep, I built this great sustainable business where it's a great healthy business model. What knee jerk was the how do I move
Oh,
forward?
look, I had some people in the Netherlands reach out to me and say, we'd really like to get you over here, and we want to learn about this whole program. Are you willing to sell it and so forth? So, long story short, going to the Netherlands for what was meant to be a 2-week trip.
Sure.
And then the next decade, I'm still there.
What sort of inspired you to stay beyond that?
I was just so fascinated by the life of, it wasn't so much the salon, but how the Dutch live in Amsterdam.
A very different lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And what did you change about your own lifestyle when you went over there? What were some of the big shifts for you?
After living there for some time and listening to how they talk, it really did inspire me. But what truly then inspired me was when I actually met my partner, Evelina. So about 3 years of living into Amsterdam, I met my partner the organic way at a friend's party. So
and why was she into sustainability? What
she
was
was
her
studying fashion and did her masters in sustainability for fashion industry. Oh, she just blew my mind with like what's happening with cotton and its resources. Like, have you ever wondered actually about your clothes and its lives, like its supply chain?
Its circle.
It's so creepy once you look into it. So Evelina was basically showing me through your barcode you could track your whole supply chain of your garment.
Wow.
So, cut a long story short, I remember going back to the salon, staring at the waist, going, where does all the hair go? Where does
What
the
is
foil
the journey of all these products?
You know, and you start asking questions, and you're like, that's really where it comes from. And you're like, why is nobody solving this? Like, hair must have a better life than just being thrown in the garbage. It's organic. You talk to anyone in permaculture and all that, anything that's organic has an epic, probably purpose outside of what you think it has a purpose for.
So what are you doing now in terms of taking that concept? Like, how did you get to the concept of where you are now with Sustainable Salons? You met her, and then how did the idea start to percolate?
I'm just a highly concerned citizen that just wants to do the right thing. So really what Sustainable Salons is just the byproduct of us just saying, what do we want to wake up to every day? Like, I love the hairdressing industry, we love sustainability, we love business, we love trying to solve problems, and then we just started connecting all the dots, and then Sustainable Salons was born. And to be honest, it was too expensive.
So how did you get into research mode? What did that look like?
We went out and studied 160 hair salons' waste bins, brought it all back to my dad's garage.
Right, so you collected rubbish.
We went into the salons and said, oh, do you mind if we just take your waste?
And how were they? Were they receptive to that, or thinking, what are you doing?
Oh, they just thought we were smoking crack. They were like, what are you guys up to? And we're like, well, this is something, right? Most of them were very receptive. They found it, like, great. They didn't care.
Take our waste.
Yeah, and we
then
just
what
said,
did you do with it?
So we studied it, and what we quickly realised is there was a huge problem not a problem. First of all, none of it was getting recycled, because you don't have to have a recycle bin in Australia. It's not forced on you like residential. On top of that, none of it could go in the recycle bin anyway, because no one would accept it.
No one would accept hair and foil.
They're like, that's contaminated, that's this, that's that. And you're like, well, there has to be better options here. One of the big things we found out was aluminium foil, actually. You never stop to realise that we found out 1 million kilos of foil goes to landfill yearly just to foil hair in Australia.
1 million kilos.
It's crazy.
And it just goes into landfill.
All landfill.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is an infinitely recyclable metal being thrown away like as if it's junk.
Because you can continue to recycle foil, right? It's
like gold.
Yeah, we're just producing it, using it, and chucking it.
Yeah. That's where it all started. So we launched a product called Refoil first, because we thought we rounded up about, I think it was about $10,000. And we said with the plan, once we get enough money, we'll then bring Sustainable Salons in. And that's
so you had a vision for Sustainable Salons down the track?
Oh yeah, from the beginning.
And what was that vision at the beginning? Because, you know, businesses always evolve, right? They're in our head and then they evolve so what was that vision in the beginning for you?
Oh, it was just like, let's just hope people understand how much hard work we've gone in to make foil made from recycled aluminium and educating you on how to recycle it. Can I give you the funniest thing? When we first got the product, people don't understand, it took us 3 months to sell our first roll because people just threw us out the door. They're like, foil? Who gives a shit?
So how did you convince people? How did you get them on that?
We had to create the problem for them to recognise. So we had to educate people. 1 million kilos. Like, what? Oh, and you know it's infinitely recyclable? No, I didn't. Oh, and then we realised, okay, and of course one of the key strategies to recycling foil was through a machine at the recycler called an eddy current. So they had to repel off this machine. So we found out if you crush the foil into balls, that will make it easier to repel off this machine. So as marketeers, we came up with campaigns called How Big Are Your Balls?
Oh,
Size
yes.
does matter. No hairy balls. And it's a gays and girls environment,
Of
right? The hair
course,
salon, so
yeah.
they're loving it. They're
They were
like
loving it.
throwing balls across the salon.
Joking about it. How big are your balls? Yep, I can see it now.
It was just hilarious, and that just got everyone talking about it, and then we won a few awards, and before you know it, the traction kicks in. And I tell people that takes about a year or two, and then we quickly became one of the biggest, if not the biggest, foil supplier in the industry for Australia.
So they can actually buy the foil from you.
Oh yeah. So
Great.
we sell the foil, and we back then were just teaching you how to recycle it in a yellow bin. But now we are the recycler. So if you're on sustainable salons, you don't need. It's not as necessary to crush the balls anymore, because we crush them into bales when they come back to our depot.
Right.
So we've kind of covered that problem.
So what's sort of that next division for you?
We have so many exciting things in the pipeline to advance our product. So one of the things I always like reminding my team is I say to everyone, like, what you think we're doing today will change, and tomorrow's the future. So we're going to keep changing, and we've got to be able to pivot very fast to suit the current environment. Like we all know with your jobs, they're just not secure anymore, right? Yeah. To stay relevant, to stay important, and to still keep up the mission, we've got to pivot. Some major things that what we're doing is not only we're servicing the hairdressing, we've opened up, of course, beauty, dog grooming, dermal clinics, barbershops onto the program.
So you've expanded that customer base. Because if we're going to do something, we do something good and stay specific. And that's why we kept it really tight within Salon. We don't want to get outside that, and we don't have any future plans just yet to go down there, but who knows what happens in the future. And one of the other biggest things is how to reach everybody, because we're a physical product, so we've got to drive to you, pick it up and so forth, so we can't reach everyone, so we've still got to get out to these areas yet, so there's still a lot of growth inside just Australia alone.
And New Zealand now as well.
And I would love, because I know a little bit about the type of talent strategy you have in terms of, a local workforce. Tell me more about sort of what triggered your view on how you recruit people and bring them into the business.
Yeah, so we call it job equality. So try not to discriminate anywhere, meaning whether if you're good at what you can do in this job, then really you should be welcome to do this type of work. We've been proud to employ over the age of 60 quite comfortably, and also employ in the disability sector quite comfortably with the right pay.
Yeah.
So making sure that, look, especially in the disability sector where, you know they can do the task very well. So wait a second, you're vulnerable within our community that need work, need a job. That's what matters. And I always remind people, we'll spend more money to actually have that happen. It's not hard at all if you really just make it a part of your day-to-day everything.
What has been the hardest thing about, scaling the business from a people perspective? Because the people part is the unpredictable bit, right? So almost like you can have the best ideas and then you've got to bring people on board to help you execute.
Evelina and I don't have business backgrounds, so we've had to learn by mistake, and that's probably the toughest, because you've got to look, I'm very comfortable with learning from mistakes, but of course my partner's been a little bit different in that space, where she's like, no, I don't want to fail, and I get that, but I'm always said, well, you can move much faster if you fail. Now, to use the perfect person for this, we're in it right now, the Tesla.
That's it.
So if you look at Elon and how he approaches Tesla and SpaceX, is he forces failure so they can quickly fix all that and be nearly years ahead of their competitors.
Yeah.
And I'm a real fan of forcing failure and getting past it. As long as you know you want to get past it.
How do you get the members on board and as passionate as you are, right? Because you have to then transfer that passion into your sales team and into your customer service team. And how do you translate that down into your workforce?
Can I honestly say it's because we believe it. We're not forcing it. Like someone says to me, oh, Paul, you're selling all the time. I hate selling, right? And I said, no, I'm just passionate about what I do. That's what sells it, and that's what I don't have to sell it, right? We don't spend a lot in marketing. People are like, oh, you must spend so much on marketing. I'm like, no, not at all.
But it's interesting because you said earlier, like, people are coming to you, right? And that's permeating somehow into the market, whether it's people talking about it.
Do you know what's amazing at the moment? Like, we now know that we've captured a lot of the right people within the industry that also care about what we care about. But now we're actually getting really interested by what's happening with consumers. We're tracking it thousands and thousands of consumers going through our salon directory because they're Googling words under us. And we're realizing, oh my God, we're now a really unique player in driving those consumers to also what they want. So
what are consumers Googling? What are they looking for?
And this is what I find fascinating. So in the 90s, it was all about brands. Like, they wanted a brand. Today, it's values driven. People go to a cafe because it's organic, it's this, it's local, it's values driven. They know that there's big chains and all that, and that used to be the 90s thing, but today it's changing. So we slot right in there just organically, again, because we're on trend.
What values did your parents distill on you when you were growing up? What do you think are those things that have still permeated in your life?
This is the best way I explain when I talk to government. I say I'm a liberal green.
Because I care about business.
About business and the planet. And if anything, sustainability is actually all three: people, planet, and profit. So it's liberal, Labor, and Greens.
That is so amazing.
And I think that's who we are today. We're the generation that was sick of this. I'm not going to vote Labor because my mum always voted Labor. I'm not going to vote Liberal because my dad always voted. It's like, that's ended.
That has ended, yeah.
We're over it. Like, just give me something that I can attach my values to properly.
Which actually incorporates all three things in some instances.
It's a unique time in history, I think, for all of us to witness what's happening, and you can only see this around the world, is that we're trying to get rid of the old guard. How do we flush that out and rebirth a new way of thinking? Because I think a lot of people really do care about our planet, about making money, but also about the local jobs. I really think there's a huge movement today about localism versus globalism. I think localism is so on trend right now because we care about what's happening in our local
our own community.
Does everyone have a job here? I just want to know everyone's happy in my area, and I think that's important today. And I think we're going to see a shift over time.
And what is your business doing in that space?
Why can't recycling facilities like ours actually be end-to-end? We've recently just proven this with our latest product, which is our sunglasses with Dresden, is that we can actually do it all here.
So what's the sunglasses with Dresden?
So it's called the shampoo collection. It's where we turned thousands of our shampoo bottles basically into eyewear. And
like sunglasses or glasses?
Just regular glasses, anything can go in them. Hugely successful. The campaign's still going today, so you can go to any Dresden store or even buy them online. It's just showing that it never had to be shipped abroad. So you don't have to, it's not always China is the solution. Manufacturing locally, so we show the recycling can be done here, so that's all the jobs in recycling. The pelletizing can all be done here too, and the molding. Well, there you go.
End to end.
End to end, guys. And maybe I'll do that right in the factory one day. And that's really the future.
Is that sort of where you're heading in your head in terms of where the business is? That end to end?
Always. Yeah. Because then you have the control. I call that the Apple and the Tesla. They have control of their product from end to end. There is something so special about that, because then you're not dictated by anything and you can create perfection. The frustration builds when you're trying to contact all these other people to sell the vision. Like, hey man, we want to make glasses. And they're like, just buy it in China, dude. And you're like, no. And I love this one, like with our refill, they're like, but then it's going to be heaps more expensive. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think you get it. Consumers are happy
to pay a little bit extra.
That little bit extra actually matters to them. And then they always say, you're bullshit. They just want cheap. And I'm like, we constantly have proven that is not the truth. The truth is that people are actually on the search for what matters to them. And they will spend. And they will spend
if they can buy into that story and the values, and it's that repeated message, right? In terms of what is important to people, what do they value? And it is becoming less about having lots of stuff and having less things, but caring more about that.
A little bit of secret sauce for people out there who are thinking down this path is storytelling. So if you're going to go to all this hard work, right? And you're going to, like us, go to ridiculous lengths to try to shift something, tell the story and tell it well. And I still feel like we're not doing a great job of that. Like we could always do better, but it's like we have to now think like, okay, so a recycler that has to actually be also good at doing film.
And talking about the brand and talking, but it's less about selling anything. It's about the story. You're not selling the refoil program or sustainable selling. You're telling and selling the story and getting that emotive buy-in.
We always remind people we're not just a recycler. Like if you actually look at the work we do, sustainability that just makes up one element. We're heavily focused on the people part, which are the jobs, the local jobs and the communities around us. And then of course the profit with their businesses, you know.
People, planet, profit.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't have recyclers that do things like that. I say, look, when you talk to your yellow bin guy, I don't think he gives two craps whether your business is successful or not, or he doesn't give two craps whether it's helping the community. They don't care. And I get it. They're from the 90s. I call that the 90s models.
I loved hearing your story. It's good because it's that passion, that's the energy, and I think that as business founders, it is so much about our story and the passion that sits behind what people see.
Totally.
It is about your story, it's about the business's story, and that's where I think people can learn a lot, is from that story. And you know, it's not always the first idea is the last idea.
Yeah.
And that's what I think people can learn from you.
It's time to reinvent everything sustainably.
That's it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe and click the notification button so you get regular updates on our new content. And if you want to know what drives and motivates you, feel free to share this video in your network and click the link in the description and take the free Predictive Index behavioural assessment and find out what drives and motivates you at work.